Today on the podcast, I want to tell you about a really exciting new project I am doing, and that is that I'm starting 2 new podcasts. I'll tell you a little bit about the second one later this week, but the first one is called AI Hustle, and it's a podcast all about how to use AI to start side hustles, to make businesses, to essentially generate money. And I'm actually co-hosting this podcast with my good friend, Jamie McCulley. So Jamie is an absolute legend. He has a YouTube channel called Jamie and Sarah. You may have heard of them if you're into the whole side hustle space. And I actually was originally on their channel around 2 years ago when I was talking about, I used to have a Spotify business back in the day. Jamie is all about doing different side hustles and businesses, and they have millions of views on their YouTube videos about doing this. I think I just was looking at one that had almost 5 million views. Called We Bought an Amazon Return Pallet, and they unbox it and go over how much money they made. They've renovated houses, they've flipped houses, they've sold furniture, they've done all sorts of kind of interesting things. And so Jamie is an incredible guy that's really into this whole side hustle space, a big person in the industry. He's done a bunch of different online businesses and physical businesses. So we're going to start this podcast called AI Hustle, where we essentially break down, how you can use AI to do side hustles. We're going to do a few different segments. The first is covering AI news, similar to what I do here, except we do it in the lens of, how can you use these tools to actually start businesses. The second one is where we actually break down the AI tools that I personally use, that he personally uses. We're testing out AI tools all the time, ways you can make money with those AI tools. And then the third one is interviews with industry experts that are currently, starting side hustles using AI to make money. So really great podcast. If you're interested in this space, you can search for AI Hustle on any platform. And also I'll leave a link in the show notes that you can check out. And in addition, I'm going to play the first episode for you today on the podcast, where we're talking about a bunch of really interesting new AI tools in the audio space, a bunch of different AI news in the audio space, and how you can make money from that. So enjoy the episode. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app, or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. Welcome to the AI Hustle podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer, joined by my co-host today, Jamie McCulley. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can use some different AI tools for side hustles. And specifically, we want to talk about some really interesting news stories that are breaking, that are coming out around new AI tools. There's one around an AI company called Refusion. They just raised $4 million. In the music space. Another one is about a software company called Tape-It, which is doing audio enhancing with AI. And the third is about Google and Universal, who are working on a deal to potentially allow, artists' voices to be used in music and other sorts of content. So we're going to dive into all of that today. Why don't you, Jamie, kick us off and tell us what's happening with Refusion?
Okay, so Refusion, this is a really cool company who just raised $4 million in funding, but they are creating auto-generated music tracks. So not only can you do that, but you can also, they will generate images using AI of the audio. And what's so cool about this app is that if you do like a faceless YouTube channel, or if you're creating audio playlists on Spotify, this app will do it all for you, including visuals. So that's just a really powerful tool for side hustles. If you are someone who is looking to create passive income through streaming and YouTube, this is a really cool app. Jane, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I think this is really interesting. I'm looking at their article about them right now, but I think it's really interesting right now. Like we see, okay, of course, the first thing is they raised $4 million. So obviously these guys have like a very solid product. I think it's interesting. They actually have the Chainsmokers, who are investors in their project as well. But yeah, I think this space right now is like I think this is going to be one of the big next spaces. Like we obviously have ChatGPT that's nailed down audio, images. We have someone like Midjourney and Dolly that have really nailed kind of that space down. And I think music and audio might be kind of the next big one. So I think people are, putting in $4 million because they believe this is a big one in this space. Yeah, this is really interesting. It, like looking at it, essentially what it says it allows you to do is to create like riffs of like music and stuff. So you essentially are just, describing like you would to ChatGPT. You'd be like, hey, give me like a hyperpunk disco funky bass line with smooth vocals. Like you're just like talking like ChatGPT and saying exactly what you want like out of the music, and it generates you. I think it's called Refusion. It calls them riffs because I don't think it's saying it's going to generate you like an entire song. It's like a chunk of a song. I don't know what your opinion is on this. In my opinion, that's just kind of the beginning. Like they'll start with something like that because maybe it's easier and they're not as worried. But like this 100% goes to being able to produce full songs eventually.
Yeah.
And even if right now it's just like, I think it says something in there about like vocals. You could say like a different type of vocal, but I don't think it sings the full song for you. But dude, there's no way in my mind that this doesn't go like, maybe it's different levels to different steps, or it's like, hey, this type of style of music, this type of thing, it produces a song. It's like, okay, now I want vocals with a song lyrics about like this concept and this thing. Okay, cool. Now I want the person whose vocals it is to be like a female, like in like this range or from like this ethnicity or like this background or like this sound. And dude, there's no way this doesn't just go there where it eventually can produce. You'll have to kind of like orchestrate it a little bit, but like you don't have the vocals or the music like production talent, like it'll be able to produce the whole thing. And I don't know where you think that goes, but
yeah, I mean, well, I think even like, so having YouTube as a background, like I'm always looking for different audio tracks that don't have any licensing that I can use on my YouTube videos without getting a copyright strike. And sometimes there just isn't like the perfect sound, or I've reused sounds. So this kind of opens up a whole new category and way to kind of get that exact, vibe you're going for with your music for your YouTube video. But then also, kind of to go along with what you said with producing music, if you want to make an entire album or playlist, eventually to be able to do that would be amazing for streaming purposes as well. I mean, right now, I think, I know, Jaden, you have a little experience with that, but if you're just making like a beat on repeat and not necessarily producing a full sound, but if you're just going for like a, techno lo-fi beat, to study to or something like that, I feel like that's a lot more attainable, at least now. But I agree with you. Like, I think, maybe even months down the road, there'll be a full, music production with AI, which is really cool.
Yeah. And I love your comments on this because in my mind, this goes straight to like side hustles. Number one, supporting like someone that currently has a side hustle, like a YouTube channel, or even like if you listen to like our podcast intro and stuff, like there's like a music jingle at the beginning. We should play around with this, Jamie, after and see if we can come up with a custom music jingle for the podcast intro with Refusion. But I think, like you mentioned, so YouTube, for those that don't know, has like a free copyright-free music library that they just like let you pick through, and you can kind of sort it by genre to try to find like music. But it's funny because I actually watch a lot of YouTube videos where like there's like a song playing in the background and I'm like, like that's a free YouTube like library song. Like I just like recognize it, And I think even when I'm searching for music there, I wish it was more like this AI experience where like, cause I'm just like, you have the filters where you're like, it's like an upbeat mood. It's got like this, but then like the song is like nothing like what you actually want. So it would be really cool if you could just type in exactly like, this is an upbeat mood, like beat. It's going to be blah, blah, blah. You just get like your prompts, a few types of prompts. Okay. Here's the other cool thing. There's a lot of YouTubers that I see use the same song like over and over again in the background of Mark Rober, which I think is probably a great example for everyone. I swear he like when he does his time lapse, he uses the same song for like the last 10 years, which is fine. But I think it would be cool if you came up with a custom prompt on something like Refusion that was like the exact genre and style of song you like, so it fits what you want. But every time you give it to Refusion, it's going to give you a slightly different like variation. It's not going to come up with the exact same song. So it'd kind of be cool. You get a custom song for every single thing. So number one, supporting your side hustle. But number two, how do you actually make money from this? And I think there's a number of ways to monetize a tool like this. Jamie, I'd love to hear your opinion. But number one, like you mentioned, I've done a lot with Spotify. So like I have friends that have made thousands of dollars creating lo-fi beats and just posting those on Spotify and calling them like lo-fi study beats or like just like basic stuff like that. And Spotify will pay you for every stream you get. And I've done this in a number of areas. I still have like successful Spotify businesses that make me thousands a month from like stuff I've done in the past. So like it's a very viable business. I don't know. What are your thoughts on monetization of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the first thing that came to mind because I know you, Jaden, are the resident expert on the audio stuff. But another thing I think is really another great way, even for beginners that could get into it, would be through Fiverr, the gig economy. You know, how many restaurants or companies are looking to put ad content out there and they have terrible jingles, or they try to come up with it all themselves, or they pay someone who is kind of in general a good video production company, but they don't have the capabilities. You know, you could on Fiverr produce music or produce jingles for people using AI, and I think you could make a killing doing it. So,
oh my gosh. And okay, that is a genius idea. And for anyone listening, this is the way I think you pull this off successfully. It's all about like you use the same tool, the same technology, but you just label it 100 different things. So you just go on Fiverr and you make a post that's like, I'll make you like a YouTube video intro song. I'll make you a podcast intro song. I'll make you a custom like happy birthday, a custom wedding song, a custom, like you just go through like all the different like areas and genres. And yeah, people will come and pay you. But I think the secret there is like just make a bunch of listings for very niche specific areas where this technology can be applied. And yeah, I think that's a great monetization method beyond just like a traditional post it on Spotify and make it a generic title that can get streams from it.
Yeah, I mean, you could even take that a little one step further and combine it with another software like, the one that can emulate voices. You could have like Snoop Dogg sing a birthday song to somebody, like customized Snoop Dogg birthday song, or something like that. You could kind of combine and make some really cool stuff, I think. So
I think that's a really fitting one because Jamie has been just like talking my ear off for the last week about how Meta recently announced that they're doing these different AI celebrities that you can chat with like on like WhatsApp and stuff. And the one Jamie tells me he's spent hours talking to is actually the Snoop Dogg celebrity. So I think that's a fitting segue from Jamie. We know his music taste now. He's been exposed.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say the Kendall Jenner one. That's the one I think that's got the most media hype is that one. But yeah, that is super creepy and interesting. I think a majority of people were kind of creeped out by the prospect of talking to someone with a chat bot that has like a video there, but it's not really them. That's kind of I feel like whenever something like that comes out, it's like, wow, this technology is going to change the world. So
no, okay, that's crazy. This is what Jamie and I were talking pre-show that I actually think is going to be interesting. If you want to think about like framing that into how that will actually make money for people, because right now I don't even know, like, I don't know, you could throw out a number, Jamie, but like, what do you think Meta paid like all of these celebrities to make an AI version of them on there? It's like pretty much a marketing stunt. Like,
yeah, well, I read the article. They said they paid $5 million. So each celebrity got $5 million, and I think they spent like 2 to 3 hours in the studio, getting like the full, profile of their expressions and stuff, and then made these bots. And yeah, that's a pretty good gig. I would do that.
That is wild. $5 million. So yep. I mean,
and then I think it was for 2 years of licensing or 2 years of usage.
That's not even like a perpetual license. That's only for 2 years. Jeez, that's a great deal. I saw the Mr. Beast one. I tried that one out, and I mean, personally, I don't really see myself sitting there and chatting with Mr. Beast. Yeah. You know what they're trying to copy though is character AI, which essentially it's kind of like the same thing, but I think you make the bots on there. Okay. And I haven't gone deep into actually like making them myself, but it's like go talk to Leonardo da Vinci, go talk to Einstein. I wonder if it's like you upload all of Einstein's like publicly available info, or if you just tell the bot like it's pretty much ChatGPT and you just tell it like act like Einstein, and ChatGPT kind of already sucked in all the data so it can act like that. But anyways, character AI is incredibly popular. It's like it was like startling to me that it was competing with ChatGPT's iOS app with how many people were actually using it. And now I don't think there's a way to actually monetize them yet, but I think it'd be really cool if you could make like a bot on there, and then you could like charge people, like have a paywall where it's like, oh, you want to use my Einstein app? Like I got the best one. It's going to be 50 cents a week or a month or something. But like on top of that, I think beyond that is like if you can turn yourself into a bot. I think there's a number of people that have done that and charged for you to be able to talk to them as a bot.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that is super interesting. The app that came to mind when you were talking about that is the Cameo app. I remember you could use to like pay celebrities to do like a custom greeting to you. But now it's almost like you could do that artificially with AI and don't even need, but then you have there's going to be lots of legal issues and licensing type stuff. I don't know if that would, go ahead.
No, that's a great point. Like, that's a great opportunity for Cameo. They don't have to do this for these celebrities anymore. They're just like, hey, come in, make your profile. Maybe they don't even pay the celebrity. They're like, make your profile and then just charge people to get cameos from the AI version of you. It's so much easier. I think, okay, this is what I think will run into trouble in that area is like, they have to be really strict about like what the celebrity can then say because it's kind of their brand image. Right now it's like, I could be like, hey, tell my friend I hate them and they're a jerk or something to like some celebrity. And they're like, no, I'm not going to say that. It's going to make me look bad. You know what I mean? But in this case, you just go to the AI. You're like, I paid like dude, it is crazy. It's like $4,000 for some Cameo things. Like if you want like a A-list celebrity to like say a happy birthday wish, right? So it's like, I paid the $4,000. I want you to say something terrible. Like Cameo's going to have really rigorous like safeguards so that people don't say crazy stuff on there.
Well, and then Cameo would be taking a gamble too, because they'd have to have a license agreement up front with the celebrity. So then if, not enough people make the Cameo with them, they would end up losing money. So yeah, it's tricky. I don't know, but
I think in that case, Cameo would just say like, hey, come in for free. We'll do all the recording and they'll just lose money on like the work up front. Like we'll do all the work to put your things together, but it's up to you if it actually sells or anyone actually buys it. And I think Cameo probably do that for free just to get, especially for the big celebrities. And I don't know.
That's true. Yeah, I guess you could say, anytime someone used it to generate a video or something, then they would get a commission of some sort. Royalty.
I wonder if, like you mentioned, how Facebook or Meta was paying $5 million. I wonder if Cameo paid to get some like big A-list celebrities on there at the beginning. It wouldn't surprise me then now. But it's trickier because like Meta, it's like it's a one and done deal where this is like pay them to get on the platform, but then they got to like actively do the videos. But I guess they're getting paid for it. So they get paid as they go. So I heard someone say you can tell who the broke celebrities are by how much they're charging on Cameo.
That's funny. That's true though. For sure.
There's a bunch of people from The Office that are great, but they're on Cameo and it's like super cheap to get them to say something. And I'm like, oh man, the acting life has not been easy.
That's funny.
Okay, so I wanted to hop over to the another really interesting piece of news and some different side hustles I think will be spawned from this. But essentially, there is a software. It's called Tape It, and it's a software for musicians that essentially lets them get studio quality noise reduction from AI. So I know you, Jamie, have mentioned you've used Adobe Audio Enhancer. I guess explain to everyone what that is and how it works, what you've used it for.
Sure. Yeah. So Adobe Audio Enhancer, basically you can, any video recording you have that has an audio track, it will automatically enhance the audio. So if you're talking to your cell phone, a lot of the background noise, kids crying, wind blowing, all that kind of stuff, really takes away from the quality of the audio. When you're doing a podcast, you have a nice microphone and you're up close to your mouth, but normal microphones pick up on the whole room, the audio from the whole room. So an app like the Adobe one, or now this new Tape It one, will automatically reduce the noise, remove that, and then also enhance the audio. And it actually sounds amazing. It's shocking how they do it with the software to take out the background noise and then enhance audio. Some of it is almost hard to differentiate between like a podcast audio. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I actually use it for those that every episode previous to this one, for anyone listening, I've used Adobe Audio Enhancer on. So like anything on this podcast, I use it. And even though like my microphone's actually pretty decent, when I started podcasting, I had just a really cheap like $40 USB mic off of Amazon. I mean, and literally putting it through Adobe Audio Enhancer made it sound super professional. So what's really interesting, this technology, I think Adobe Audio Enhancer came out earlier this year. So it's not like that old, but it has been around. Now, what I think is interesting is this new one called Tape It. It's specifically targeting musicians. And the reason I think that's important is because when you are enhancing audio or like trying to fix audio for like music, it's significantly harder. For Adobe Audio Enhancer, even when I have like interviews where it's like two people on a podcast and I do it, sometimes like between people talking, it like accidentally clips someone a little early or a little late or has like some like pause issues. It's pretty good, but it's not perfect. But for music, you cannot have that. Like you can't have the end of a drum be clipped off, or like it just has to be like the perfect exact music just without the sound. And so I think it's actually interesting. I've actually personally tried Tape It, putting stuff in there. It's actually pretty good. You can go check it out and people can go check it out and find it. And maybe we'll leave links in the show notes of this episode to all the articles that we talk about, so you can go look up all these tools. But Tape It's cool because essentially you can have like your band, or you can have a band that plays live, and it's like in a busy street, so there's people talking and walking around, or even like if you do it in a quiet building, there's like a little hiss or a hum, like there's just background sound, like the fans of my computer, for example, right now can get picked up on microphones. And so having a tool like this literally makes it sound like you are in like a soundproof studio, and it's really impressive. Now, off of the top of your head, Jamie, what side hustles do you think could come out of not just Adobe Audio Enhancer, I guess we get to that, but like this Tape It software? Like let's say you're not even a musician. Like how can you make money off of something like this?
Yeah, that's great. I think my mind kind of goes back to the whole Fiverr gig economy. Let's say you had at a wedding, someone sang a special song, like the dad sang a song to his daughter, and someone recorded it on their phone. Again, it's kind of the same thing. You're going to have all that background noise, the people to be able to kind of give it a studio quality feel just with a click of a button, I think is something that people would be, willing to pay for. So I could see, kind of like auto producing, anything like that on Fiverr. And from what I understand, you were saying the Adobe is more for vocals and then Tape It's more for audio. Okay. Yeah. I mean, cheap. It's gonna take the price of the production costs of making music down, which is just gonna allow a lot more people to kind of get into the game. Cause I know studio time is very expensive. So if you can, kind of basically offer a service that's almost as good or as good as studio time, there's room to make money for sure.
Okay. So many different thoughts on this, but, like for those that don't know, I have a little bit of a background in music. I've done a lot of different side hustles. My main thing I do now is software, but I have like in the past, I had a business that was all about like Spotify and music, and I've done like so many different genres. I've done it where I like pay musicians to record music. I have like paid for studio time to get someone in the studio. I've recorded stuff myself, like whatever. I've been all over that industry. And yeah, this is a total game changer. Number one, studio time's freaking expensive. But number two, I actually have paid a lot of money because back in the day, something I used to do, one of my side hustles was I would find a voice talent on Upwork, and I would find a producer on Upwork, and I would find new like trending songs. So like whatever the hottest new Taylor Swift or whatever song that came out on the top of the charts, I would get a production company. I'm like, hey, like make like a background track that's as true to the original song as possible. Like pretty much clone them, but without cloning them, right? Like give me the karaoke version of this song. Then I would go to a vocalist and be like, hey, here's a track, sing on top of this track, like the song, like your own rendition, just sing it, as best as you can. And then I would have to combine them, and I would pay a ton of money for someone to do what they call mixing and mastering of that track. And I think something like this helps a lot with that, where like you don't have to mix and master it as much. You don't have to remove the hisses or fix the audio as much, because it's kind of just like all baked in. You literally layer the two on top of each other, throw it through Tape It. It's going to fix any hissing or buzzing, and then your song's good to go. And what I actually used to do then is, of course, I'm sure people are like, you can't do that. That's going to get you copyright struck. So if you publish your music through a distribution company called Lander, they will go and buy the license to essentially you can like do covers of people's music. So it's called a cover license. And pretty much how it works out is like normally you get paid for every stream your song gets. But if you do something like if you do a cover license, you have to give 30 cents on the dollar to the original like person, but you get to keep 70% on the dollar if you're doing covers. So like, yeah, even for that side hustle, a tool like this would have been incredibly valuable. And like FYI, in case anyone wants to know if it worked, it actually did work. My number one song that I did with this side hustle was a song called Dance Monkey by Tones and I, if you've ever heard of it. It was kind of really popular way back when. I don't know what the thing was, but like, I think, this is my guess, that the song was like banned in Russia or something, or like the original like vocalist decided they didn't want to release their song in Russia. I don't know what the thing was, because for some reason I did a cover and it actually sounded pretty close to the original. But like it had its own spin. The vocalist I chose, she was like really phenomenally talented. But anyways, yeah, we did a cover of that song, and for some reason in Russia I got so many downloads off of iTunes, like thousands of dollars worth of iTunes downloads. Don't know why, but like, anyways, it's kind of funny. That's just the name of the game in that. But something like Tape It would have been very helpful for that side hustle.
Dude, you're such a boss of the Spotify, iTunes world. I love it.
Oh man, I went.
I remember that's kind of how we first met, or at least we talked for the first time about that. That was like 2 or 3 years ago now.
Yeah, so I used to have a YouTube channel all about Spotify, and well, it is about side hustles. So this podcast is a continuation of that, really. But that was one that was very interesting. Okay, Jamie, the final thing I want to bring this to on the podcast today is Google and Universal Music. They're talking about licensing artists' voices for AI generated music. I mean, this isn't inked, right? This deal isn't done and set in stone. So like we can't definitively say every side hustle you can do from this. Let's talk about where we think this could go, because I think this is a really, if you're talking about music, which is this whole podcast episode is about like making money from like AI audio and music kind of tools. Where does this go, and where can people make money from this? Like, what's your predictions on this one?
Yeah, I mean, kind of, I was alluding to it earlier, but I feel like the whole world of like licensing music is going to be really big, even more so for musicians now, because if an AI can basically replicate their sound and their voice, they're going to get ripped off, so there's going to need to be a lot more licensing between some of these companies that are like Google and the artist, but then also just, figuring out, it's kind of like almost like the new way to get pirated, like pirated music back in the day was like a big thing. I feel like this, you could have a song you think is written by Taylor Swift, but it was just an AI, using her voice. So it's I feel like there could be definitely some legal battles for sure. But I think going back to your side hustle that you'd mentioned, there's a lot of opportunity to kind of, you do like remixes or covers of songs, using the actual artist, but kind of do like, Taylor Swift's dubstep version, I don't know, like, I feel like there's a lot of ways you could go with that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, like I don't even need to pay a vocalist for that side hustle anymore. If like this happened, I could just license the original artist's voice. Okay, but I think what this goes beyond just like doing a cover of an artist with their own voice. Okay, that's wacky, because then it literally, oh my gosh. Okay, this just opened a whole nother can of worms that I thought about. Here's a horrible side hustle for all the degenerates listening to this. Okay, if this gets approved and passed, and you can make like if you can make music with people's voices, and it's like the licensing, so it's probably gonna be a similar deal where it's like you give 30 cents on the dollar for any money made.
Right.
If this gets passed, this is the best side hustle to do. Go to every famous celebrity, every famous thing. I mean, you use AI, so these tools are already out there. You can scale this pretty quick, and you make studio version of like every album that already exists. It's like Ed Sheeran studio version, Ed Sheeran like live performance, Ed Sheeran live. And like, you literally just do it, and it's like totally legal. It's 100% legit. It's Ed Sheeran's voice singing Ed Sheeran's music. I guess you need the production of the background of the tracks, but that's not very hard to get people to help you with. And a lot of that's just like publicly available for free. But oh my gosh, that'd be so funny.
You use Refusion, right? And you do it
for Fusion, get the production done, and then be a complete degenerate. So okay. My actual opinion on this though is I think this is the right move. a lot of people, I've been seeing like, you should look it up, AI Johnny Cash. It's fantastic on YouTube. People are already making this kind of music. In fact, there was recently, a couple of months ago, there was a Drake and The Weeknd song. It was a collab that was completely generated by AI. There's a bunch of open source AI models. They're open source. They're not necessarily ones that are like commercialized so much because people are worried about copyrights, but people just make their own open source versions. You run it on your computer and generate it. It's a little bit more technical, but you can do it. Anyways, go look it up if you're interested. But so like the technology's there. But yeah, there was a Drake and Weeknd song that went totally viral, and I listened to it. It was actually pretty good. I'm like, dang, this is a good song. But anyways, this is going to happen whether people like it or not. There's going to be open source models. It's going to be the bootlegged music, whatever. People are going to make their own music. And this was like something, it wasn't even something Drake had ever sung before, right? They got ChatGPT to say, write me a Drake song about this. And ChatGPT, of course, is good at that. Then they throw it into this model and it raps it like Drake. Sounds perfect. So this is going to happen whether people like it or not. So I think this is 100% the right move for someone like Universal Music, because originally when this happened, Universal Music and all the other music people, they like hardcore sued the people that were releasing this music on YouTube. They're like, big lawsuit, take it down, kill it. And of course, like, I think the original people did, but so many people like grabbed it and re-uploaded it that like I was able to find like a bootleg version somewhere and like, come on, I want to hear the song. But like, yeah, you make money from this. And so I think this is the right play of doing the licensing, because they're not going to be able to shut this down. If the technology is available and someone's a super fan of Drake, they're going to make Drake songs. Like, it's fun, right? They just want to do it. So I think the licensing is the right move for them in this regard.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately the people who maybe are going to get hit worse by this are the like small to medium sized artists who, maybe the like YouTube, can detect if there's copyright infringement. Maybe on the smaller artists, they won't be able to recognize their voice, and so they may get hurt harder than some big time artists. But
yes. So I think in the tradition, like in what's currently happening, that's 100% the scenario and the situation. But I think if Google and Universal Music ink this deal, then it's going to be built into YouTube, and it's probably going to be a lot more robust, and hopefully YouTube would just be able to catch it and credit people. So I think, inevitably that's why Google's doing it. So that's cool. And I think it also brings me back to like earlier this year when Grimes, who is, Elon Musk's one of his like, I don't think they're together now.
Baby mama.
Yeah, baby mama. She said like, hey, anyone can use my voice and clone it with AI. I think she even made a tool for them to do it, but she said just you have to split the royalties 50-50 with me, and she created a whole system for that. So I think it's that same concept. Like, why not? If you're an artist and you're not pumping out 1 million albums a year, like if someone wants to, especially for like Drake, maybe not so much, right? The guy's got a brand. He comes out with his album every year. He's got kind of a system. Taylor Swift, sort of the same thing. But for like people like Grimes or like smaller than the mega stars, like why not? Let someone use your voice, and if they create something really cool, split the revenue with them. Like that's cool. There's a lot of people that are very talented musicians. Like I have a brother, phenomenally talented musician and producer. Like he produces music, but he just like doesn't like singing, so that's not his thing. But if he could just go and license everyone else's vocals and put them on there, like he'd be over the moon. And like he makes really good songs. Like the lyrics are good, the audio's good, like everything's good. He just doesn't like doing the vocals on top. So I think that's a really cool way to create a whole new revenue stream and a whole new side hustle for people that aren't like vocalists. So that's exciting
for sure. That's cool, man.
All right, Jamie. Well, it was fantastic. Thank you so much to the listener for tuning in to the AI Hustle. We're going to be doing these episodes once a week. We'll have this kind of news breakdown and talk about different side hustles we think that are coming out of breaking AI news, really to keep you on the cutting edge of like what's coming down the pipe. Of course, like we can talk about just random side hustles you could do, but there's so many new ones. And I think this is the reason why Jamie and I felt so strongly about this kind of specific segment, and why we think this is really important, why we're doing this podcast for free for you right now, is because we believe that the first people that take advantage of these big technological shifts are the ones that are going to have the best impact and the biggest opportunity to really like take an opportunity and make money from it. So I'd say, strike while the iron's hot. If any of these, side hustles sound interesting for you, like start looking into them, start getting familiar with them, because the first people that do this are going to be the ones that are the most successful. And at some point when a market gets oversaturated, there is like quote unquote a moat, I believe, that comes from whoever did it first. They were able to get their accounts pushed the furthest. They're able to grow, they're following the biggest in a specific area, or whatever their piece of content was able to get the biggest. And so, yeah, we're keeping you on the cutting edge so that you can be that person.
Yeah, drop shipping was, the thing 5 years ago everyone was trying to get into. The early ones are still making a killing doing it. But there's just so much opportunity with AI. It's insane. So we really believe in it. Thanks for watching, guys.
Yep, thanks so much. And make sure to rate us wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great rest of your day.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. That's the sound of switching your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling. Harness the best converting checkout and same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Stop leaving sales on the table. Discover why millions trust Shopify to build, grow, and run their business. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech23.
Thank you for listening to the AI Chat Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rate me wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're looking for an innovative group of AI enthusiasts, make sure you check out our Discord channel and also our Facebook community. It's obviously a lot more interactive than a podcast where we can actually share software tools, prompts that we're using in everyday AI. I'll leave a link for those in the description below.